Palestinians en route to Friday prayers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City, the Holy City. But peace here remains as elusive as the light that flits across the shadows of its ancient walkways. The stone beneath passing feet may have been smoothed and mellowed by time, but not so the conflict that still defines Israelis and Palestinians, as sharp and as far from resolution as ever. This is the latest battlefront, a garden in a Palestinian neighborhood called Sheikh Jarrah in occupied East Jerusalem, captured from Jordan by Israel in 1967 and later annexed in a move not recognized by the international community. Reem Hamad has brought her children to the house she was born in, where her parents still live and now face eviction from, along with a number of other Palestinian families in the neighborhood. The children are painting signs about their plight.
It's very important for the little ones to know the history and to stay attached to their land, and to know that it's their land, it's not anybody else's land, it's theirs.
It was given to Ahmad's parents and 27 other Palestinian families in the 1950s, part of a plan by Jordan to house refugees from the wars surrounding the creation of the Israeli state in 1948. The United Nations paid for houses to be built on the land.
We were actually people who came from all over the country, from Haifa, from Akka, from Jaffa, from all over the country, as refugees seeking shelter and seeking safety here in Jerusalem. And some even came from the west side of Jerusalem, the western Jerusalem.
Israeli law allows Jewish citizens to reclaim pre-1948 property as long as they can prove title to it. The settler groups trying to evict the Palestinian families claim to have bought the land from two Jewish trusts that bought the land at the end of the 19th century. Those claims have been upheld by a lower court in Israel, and it's now before the Supreme Court. At least one hearing delayed because of its incendiary nature.
We have one city, and we had a war in 1948. 2,000 Jews were displaced, 20 to 30,000 Palestinians were displaced. The Jews may recover their property, the Palestinians may not.
Daniel Siedemann is an Israeli lawyer who's worked on settlement issues in Jerusalem for 30 years. He says the Palestinians are right to be worried that the settlers have the full backing of the Israeli government.
The only people who have ever lived in these homes are the Palestinians who are living there. It is their memories. Today it is settlers who have absolutely no connection to this site. Not one of the original owners pre-1948 has returned to Sheikh Jarrah. It all goes to the settlers as ideological trinkets.
A number of groups in Jerusalem raise funds, mostly from abroad, to support nationalist religious Jewish settlers in their efforts to displace Palestinians. Daniel Luria is a spokesman for one called Ataret Kohanim.
Let's understand something, that the land of Israel, Judea and Samaria, including Judea and Samaria, and the whole of Jerusalem, there's only one sovereign body here. There's only one people that have a connection to this land. There is no such thing as a Palestinian people, no such thing as a Palestinian state, and there's no such thing as any sovereignty by anyone except the Jewish people here.
Hardline Jewish settlers took over one of the houses opposite Reem Hamad's parents' house in Sheikh Jarrah about 10 years ago. It sits fortified and decked out in security cameras. The street has since become a rallying point for Palestinians opposing the potential evictions. In early May, there were almost nightly clashes between Palestinians, Israeli settlers, and police. Israeli police have since blocked the entrance. For many Palestinians, Sheikh Jarrah has become emblematic of their struggle against the Israeli occupation, now more than half a century old. And it is a younger generation carrying the torch, harnessing social media to their cause. This video went viral.
Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? Why are you yelling at me? I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
But
It's easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
you are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one is allowed to steal it, يا عمي.
Samira Dajani and Adel Boudera are also facing eviction, their families' original homes in West Jerusalem. Dajani says young Palestinians, both here and abroad, are making a difference.
Before there was no enough power to spread our opinions here and there, but now I think this is the reason.
They have 2 daughters living in Canada.
We didn't know how to tackle this cause, and we lost a lot of supporters all over the world. Now, as Samira said, the youth are better than us, better than our generation.
They're convinced the insertion of Jewish settlers into East Jerusalem is part of a deliberate plan to thwart the possibility of it ever serving as the capital of an independent Palestinian state. Israel claims Jerusalem as its undivided capital. The idea of a 2-state solution to the conflict has been gathering dust in the corner for a few decades now, despite the lip service paid to it by the international community whenever convenient. There are those who say it's time to pick it up again.
We Israelis are sipping cappuccino on the edge of a volcano.
Daniel Siedemann says to ignore what's happening would be a mistake for Israel.
I'm an Israeli, I'm a Zionist, I consider myself a patriot. Israel is consistently engaged in policies that decent people cannot support. But we're seeing a large-scale erosion of support for Israel for reasons that I very much understand, and a growing support for the Palestinians, which I also understand.
But there are leadership vacuums amongst Palestinians and Israelis alike. The Palestinian Authority in the occupied territories, seen by its own people as corrupt and moribund. And Israel has had a staggering 4 elections in the past 2 years. The religious right still dictating whether governments will stand or fall. It is not the time, say optimists and pragmatists alike, for the outside world to look away. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Jerusalem.